What's up YouTube, Roland here, and although I recently did get my Galaxy S10 phone, which I am in love with for many reasons, and I'll put the link to that video up above me, but I recently got my hands on the Google Pixel 6, and I have to say, I'm kind of loving it. I really like a lot of features. Dare I say, I dig a lot of the features on it, and I think, oof, I might end up having to get rid of my Galaxy. Don't know. I will tell you right now. So the Google Pixel 6, and four main things that I absolutely dig about the Pixel 6. Number one being the overall aesthetic. I like the design of the phone. I dig the fact that they put Gorilla Glass across the back, whereas a lot of phones nowadays are no longer putting Gorilla Glass across the back of the phone. They're putting aluminum or plastic or some other type of material that doesn't seem very high-end. I get that Gorilla Glass does get a lot of fingerprints when you touch it and you mess with it, but that's why the wonderful Lord made microfiber towels. You just give it a little wipe, clean it up, or just rub it on your old shirt, and you're good to go. Now, this camera bump here does have a little bit of a raised edge. It's maybe about 3 millimeters wide as far as the edge goes on the camera bump, and it is capable of getting dust in there, but it's easy to just simply wipe it out and get rid of the dust. Whereas on my Galaxy S10, the camera bump is very, very, very tiny. You know, almost to the point to where they could have just not had it at all, right? Now the Pixel 6 is a 6.4 inch screen, so it's a bit bigger than the Galaxy S10, and it doesn't hold as easily in the hand for one-handed opening and whatnot as the Galaxy S10 does. That was one of the main reasons why I like this. I don't have the largest hands in the world, and so for me, reaching around and opening up the phone on the Galaxy S10 was a bit easier one-handed than it is with the Google Pixel 6 in my opinion. But I still like the overall design and aesthetics of it. I dig the Gorilla Glass, and I like the fact that they did try colors, if you will, on the back. So for instance, the main part of the phone itself has got this iridescent white color with the Google logo right there in the middle, and then you have yourself the camera bump going across the top here in black with the camera array built in, which is horizontal, so it allows it to lay flat, and I'll get into that in a second. And then you have this really cool seafoam green color up here at the top. It's almost like a minty color, which gives the camera a 3-color back, which is pretty cool, I think, in today's standards, because a lot of phones are just kind of really boring. They don't really have much look to them. They don't have no style, no panache, if you will, right? So this kind of does. And speaking of the camera bump, which we just mentioned, I like the fact that it goes bezel to bezel. That's something that I dig, because when you lay it on the desk, and if you have it opened in calculator mode, you can actually sit there and type on the phone as a calculator like you would an old school calculator, because it raises the phone off of the desk just about 3 or 4 millimeters and just gives it a little angle in order to be able to be typing away at it, which is pretty cool. Now, they managed to keep the bezel fairly empty and void of all kinds of buttons and stuff, other than on one end here you have the power button, and you have the volume up and down rocker, and you have your USB-C port down here at the bottom, and 2 downward firing stereo speakers. Why they're both facing downwards, I'm not sure. I guess it's better that way, but if you're watching a movie panoramic style, or you're watching video panoramic style, it would be kind of cool to have one speaker over here and one speaker over here. Cool design. Interesting way they set everything up. I like it. The little camera hole in the front here, right there dead center, so it's not off-centered like on the Galaxy S10 where the camera hole there is off to one end, which, you know, if you get a good cool looking screensaver or screen wallpaper, it actually kind of works. Number 2 of the amazing things on the Google Pixel 6 that I like is the camera. It's got a 50 megapixel rear camera there that is capable of doing a wide angle, and it zooms in fairly well. It's just not a telephoto zoom, it's more of a digital zoom, and it has laser autofocus, so it can actually hone right in on the subject, like when you're using it for imagery of that person, and blur out the background without it being a digitally enhanced blur like the way the Galaxy S10 does. So that's a cool feature. It's more of a natural look. It looks almost like a mirrorless camera. That's pretty cool. Ultra wide lens is a 12 megapixel, and on the front 8 megapixel, which unfortunately isn't as good as the Galaxy S10. The Galaxy S10 actually has a better front facing camera. This is an example of the forward facing selfie camera on the Google Pixel 6 using 1080p with 60 frames per second. Alright, now this is the video with the rear camera, and I have it set to a slightly wider angle so that we can get more of the video featuring the background. The third thing that I liked on the Google Pixel 6 is the processor. So it uses Google's Tensor processor, which is pretty advanced. It's running Android 12. Now it's got an octa-core processor, and it has 128 gigs of storage, 8 gigabytes of RAM. It does end up getting a little bit hot sometimes. So when you start to get heavy into videos and you're playing 4K video on here, and then you're jumping back and forth between different screens and swiping and Facebooking and all that stuff, the phone will start to get pretty warm. Whereas I noticed that my Galaxy S10 didn't get as warm when I was doing the same things. Now it could be because the screen is larger and I had it on full brightness, but I've done the exact same thing on my Galaxy S10. Put it on full brightness, threw a bunch of stuff at it, and tried to bog it down, and it still didn't get too hot. So unfortunately, that's one thing that kind of worried me a little bit about the Pixel 6. But other than that, this thing performs extremely well. It handles Android 12 amazingly and bounces back and forth between programs, applications, and all that fairly well, and the camera is able to stay on and record for about a good 5, 10, 15 minutes sometimes before it really gets too hot and you're like, alright, I gotta turn this thing off. Now, number 4, and the fourth final thing that I really like about the Google Pixel 6 is the battery. So I've looked on YouTube and I've looked on Google, and I've seen quite a few different people saying that the battery sucks on the Pixel 6, but it doesn't. If you manage to close out some of the background applications and all the crap that's going on the phone and keep it pretty much to where, you know, you don't have it at 100% brightness all the time, then the battery will last you for a whole day. I was recording video with this, and I was taking pictures, and I was going through apps and doing all this stuff for about a good 3 hours, and it only got down to about 73%. And I was heavily using the phone for those 3 hours, and not just kind of swiping through apps, but recording 4K video, watching 4K video, taking pictures, zooming in, zooming out, putting it through its paces to see how the battery would die. I got that down to 73%, which is not horrible compared to some phones. Now, the Galaxy S10, I've been able to manage to keep that one lasting pretty long throughout the day because I put the screen at half brightness. I close a lot of apps in the background, and I don't have a lot of push notifications going through, which I would suggest you do with this. Assuming you do that, then the battery should be able to have a whole day's worth of power, and maybe like around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, assuming that you start around 7:30 in the morning of doing things with the phone. Around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, that's when you should start hitting right around 15-20%, which is not too bad, I think, as far as a phone of this caliber goes. Now, the downfalls. There's a couple of things that I was not too happy with when it came to the Google Pixel 6. And the main one was the camera. I like the camera as far as what it's capable of doing and how it's able to take such amazing photos. What I didn't like is that I really like to be able to go into the camera and go into the pro settings and just really start tweaking things, manual focus. I couldn't get those weird fine tweaks that I like. I mean, there's got quite a few different features that you can do with stabilization, auto zooms. You can even have it, constantly set up to where when you're in selfie mode, it doesn't reverse things. So that's kind of nice when it saves those pictures. So there's quite a few things that you can do in the camera features, but it didn't have really fine tuning, which I like in the Galaxy. And it's something that I use a lot, especially when it comes to vlogging. So that was one thing that kind of got me a little bit frustrated, was playing around with it and trying to use different filters and whatnot. Now, of course, most people can do a lot of that in post editing when it comes to their pictures. They just drop it onto their laptop and they just start messing with some of the photos afterwards, or edit into the software, edit in the phone after you've taken the pictures. But there's, you know, little filters, little things that I like to do as I'm using it. I think it's a good phone as far as being able to just jump in and start taking pictures and using it, but I really want to be able to do a little bit more when it comes to digging deep into the manual features of the camera. And I get it's not made for that, but it is something that I kind of like to do. The last thing that I kind of didn't really like too much about the Google Pixel 6, and this is, you know, being picky, just me being picky, and it has basically to do with the design aspect. So the lack of the headphone 3.5mm jack, and also the plasticky feeling bezel. So those are kind of 2-in-1. So it's really only two things: the camera functionality that I wasn't a big fan of, and of course part of the design, which was the plasticky bezel and the lack of the headphone jack. A lot of people were saying like, well, okay, you don't really need a headphone jack because everybody wears Bluetooth headphones and does everything via Bluetooth. But I don't just use it to listen to music, I also do recording and vlogging with my phone, and so I like to plug in the Rode Gear mic. I don't want to have to use the Bluetooth version of it or use the USB-C. I want to be able to still charge my phone and have it running while I have the microphone plugged in and I'm recording audio using the microphone. And it's something that's kind of important, especially when you want a little bit better audio in your videos. So for me, that's something that I like to have on my phone. So I'll stick with the Galaxy because it still has the ability to plug in an aftermarket microphone, and that is important to me. Plus, once again, I got some old school headphones that I really like a lot, and they're, you know, just, I'm being stubborn, right? So we all have our things, and that's my thing. So leave my thing alone. What's your thing? Let me know what you think. Do you like the Google Pixel 6? Do you like the Galaxy better? Do you like an iPhone 12 better? What is the phone that you would gravitate towards? So all that being said, is this enough to dethrone the Galaxy as being my daily workhorse? And I'm gonna have to say, not at this time. No, not yet. Not yet. Maybe, you know, a couple of those things gets fixed and I'd be on board with it. But once again, it's just those few things, and of course it's a slightly bigger phone, so I'm not going to go for it. I'm going to stick with my Galaxy S10, and of course the price range of, you know, it's just a little bit more out of the price range for me. You can pick one up for $500 on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below, but brand new you're gonna be looking around $600 to $670, $650. Used, renewed on Amazon with warranty, with the ability to be able to return it. You can see in the description below, I'll put a link, anywhere from around $420 up to about $500, $520 for a factory renewed with a warranty guaranteed, fully returnable phone from Amazon. There's gonna be a link in the description so you can get one. It's a great phone. I dig it, but I don't think that I dig it enough to get rid of my Galaxy S10. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe and hit that like button a bunch of times. Just smash the like button for me and leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the Google Pixel 6. Is it worth it? Am I an idiot for not taking it over the Galaxy S10? Am I just being stubborn and old school because I like the Galaxy S10? Tell me what you think. I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.